G'day, my name's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Flat Tank Friday. Merry Christmas. Let's get down the road to start with. Had a busy week, a lot of time for my family and a bit of work this week where I needed to go away from the shed. The shed itself, I've had a bit of a result today in preparation for Flat Tank Friday. Let's hop straight into it. The piston. And you remember last week, had a little bit of a drama. Gudgeon pin doesn't fit in the piston. 0.3 of a mil, or I gather for the thou speakers, that's about 12 thou or 11.8 thou, which is a fair bit. It's not just a smack in with a hammer job. Turns out there might be such a thing as a gudgeon pin reamer, and that piston needs reamed out properly, very precisely and perfectly straight. Needs reamed out to match the gudgeon pin. So, guy that helps me with engines doesn't have the piece of kit and the piece of equipment to do it. So after Christmas, and probably in the new year to be honest, I'm off to see the bloke who bought out my barrel, and I'm hoping he'll do the job for me. It's just a matter of finding the right person with the right equipment and getting that hole reamed to size. There's no point in messing around with this and doing half a job. So that's where we're at with the piston. Other than that, pretty successful week in the shed, and everything's gone pretty well. Going to bring it in and show you the bike. I chose to go back to what I would normally do, and normally with a bike I would dry build the whole thing and ride it without any paint or nickel plating. And proof of the pudding's in the eating. That's what should have been done here, but that's not what was done, and got a couple little problems mounted up. That's one of them. That should have been resolved really early on in proceedings, not after the bike is painted and nickel plated and a whole range of other things. So come over, we'll have a look at the bike, and I'll show you some of the things that are going really well and a couple of things that aren't going well, but I think they'll be easy to resolve. Okay, here's the bike. Looks cool, a little bit different from last time. I chose to put both the barrels on. Of course, the rear barrel doesn't have a piston in it. I don't think it really matters. It doesn't matter for my purposes. The front barrel, I cut a new gasket, pistons in it, and the barrel's gone on, and it lines up reasonably well with the tappets. Not perfectly, but hell, I'm going to have that engine in and out and barrel on and off a dozen times before I get anywhere. I decided to bolt the thing together because I just wasn't getting far. The manifold screwed on pretty well and screwed straight up. I was talking to a bloke this morning who suggested the best way to get the manifold on is to leave the barrels loose and leave everything loose until you get all the things partially put on and then tighten them up. Not sure. Anyway, it went on alright. Now, to the person who told me about the fuel tap should be about there, yes, they're right, except on this one it's all been blanked off. It's been soldered or welded up, and there's no bung in it that I could move the fuel tap forward. Of course, then you see, and I've got the fuel pipe sitting in, you see what happens. It's really close to the spark plug. So I don't know that I want to run this across and down again. I'm kind of happy with where it is. I'm going to see if I can get a spark plug cap to go in there. It looks okay, but is a little bit wonky. It's not meant to look like that. But this is why you dry build things before you put them together, or before you've got your tank painted. Then this is not really in the right place. This should be there, it would run down, and it would run around. And that would be how Mr. Douglas, if there was a Mr. Douglas, intended it to be. And you can see exactly why now. And that's why I've got the spark plug sitting in it. It's why I put the caps in it. It's why I put the manifold and the exhaust on. Because the more bits you put on, the more you find out that something's not right. So the engine went in and out really, really easily, and that's not really difficult at all. The valves on this side and the tappets, I haven't really messed with them, but the inlet valve isn't real good. I'd rather it over a little bit further, but I'll mess with that in due course. The next problem I found was putting on the exhaust manifold and that there's possibly a bend in the foot peg or a bend in the mount to the foot peg. The foot pegs are actually attached on a piece of threaded rod. Now, of course, they probably weren't attached on a piece of threaded rod, but somebody has made that to mount the foot pegs on. I actually think there's a bend in here, but the whole frame's powder coated. So if it wasn't powder coated, you would just heat it up and give it a bend out, but it is, so I won't. Somebody's already had a heat and a belt at the exhaust pipe because I gave it a clean up and could see it. So now I'm not really sure what to do about that, but I'm thinking I'll give it a little bit of heat as well. I'll just slide that back in. And we'll possibly get just enough clearance for the whole thing to slide by. It's really, really close. I could probably force it. It's right here, needs a couple of mil depression. Not a big deal. We'll see about that. Other than that, I think the engine has gone in pretty well. There's a few issues still to sort, the piston ring being the most. I got a little video to share with you. I've silver soldered all this together and I'm really happy with it. So you have a look at that and I'll get the exhaust off. Alright, I'm going to have a little go at silver soldering the nut on my fuel pipe. I've cut it to length, I've polished the end of the fuel pipe, the brass with some Scotch-Brite, and I've put some flux on it. I'm not great at this, so we'll see how this goes. Got a lot of flux on there by the look of it. And when it's just hot enough, it runs in just like that. I've probably got just a little bit too much on it, and I might have had the flame a bit dirty. When it's clean enough and it's hot enough and you touch the solder onto it, it just sucks it straight into the nut. So I'm hoping that that's good. I'm going to let that cool down, then I'll get it out, clean it up, give you a look at it cleaned up. Here's a close-up of my silver solder job. Not too bad. I'm probably a little bit heavy with the solder. Important thing to remember, always put the nut on first, because you can't get the nut on or off later. I did have it on, so that's okay. I'm going to do the other end. I'm pretty happy with that, and it cleaned up pretty good. Right, let's see if the fuel tank end works out as well as the carby end. I've cleaned up both pieces as well as I can with a piece of clean Scotch-Brite. I have well fluxed the pipe and the tail, and now just the gentlest amount of heat. And I'll try not to get in your road. And the solder has just run back downhill. Got the pipe on a slight angle upwards. I should have it on a slight angle downwards, I think. Has run in, so there's no worries about that. And I've done the same as the last time. I've applied just a little bit much solder. That's going to look pretty good. And I'm probably a bit heavy with the flux. I'm going to let that cool, give it a clean up, and then I'll show you that one. And there's the other end. It's not too bad. I got a tiny dab of solder sitting there. that I'll probably polish out because it annoys me. Other than that, all that's soldered on pretty well. There's the nut. Nut's going to slide up and tighten up against the fuel tap. So that's the fuel pipe pretty much finished. It'll need cleaned and it will need nickel plated because I'm not going to leave it as copper. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'll show you what I used to silver solder with. This is a little kit I used to silver solder. It's oxygen, obviously. You can see that in the bottle. And MAP Pro. It's a fuel in the yellow bottle. They come under lots of brands and lots of stuff. The good thing about this one is this came with a couple little regulators. A regulator for the fuel and a regulator for the oxygen. And then a little torch. You can adjust the flame. You can adjust the ferocity of it. And it's pretty good. I paid a couple $100 maybe. It served me really well. You wouldn't want to do a whole lot of work with it. I can braze with it and I can silver solder with it. You could cut with it. It is hot enough. But yeah, it'd start to get expensive. The bottles, the oxygen bottles are about $50 each. But the fuel bottles are only about $25, about half that. So it starts to get really expensive. Of course, you consume the oxygen bottles at a much greater rate than you consume the fuel bottles. All that said though, it's been an invaluable tool. I've really enjoyed it and it's an easy thing to use. Alright, close in on the fuel pipe. You can see it's all soldered up. And all the fittings tighten up nice. Bring you along the pipe. Bring you up over the troublesome spark plug, where that's an error of judgment on someone's behalf on where to put the fuel tap, but nevertheless it is what it is. And the fuel tap itself. I'm going to spend Christmas and New Year thinking about that. I don't really like it, but it is what it is. For now, I don't want to hack into the bottom of a freshly painted tank, so I'm going to kind of leave that alone. Alright, I'm about to give that a little bit of a heat up. I'm going to give it a bit of persuasion to see if I can get it to fit. I think it's the lesser of the evils. I could do a lot of things and try and bend the frame, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna have a go at this. I'll give it a bit of heat and we'll give it some persuasion, see if it'll fit. I'll bring you back when I've done a bit more. Actually, I'll let you have a look at it having a bit of heat. Alright, I marked the pipe. I'll see it when I've given it some heat, but I'm heating it along a line. It's already had a few beatings by the look of it, so I don't think another one will do it all that much harm. This would work better if I put it on a heatsink brick, so I might just disappear for a second and I'll bring you back after I've sat this up on a brick to stop the heat going into the bench. Alright, I've given that a fair old whack across the middle here. All of this was done by someone else, and so is this. So I've given it a crease across here, and we'll see how it goes. It is a bit agricultural, all be hidden under the foot peg though. Let's see if it fits. Let's have a look at the foot peg. Okay, you're looking down over the right hand side foot peg, and the foot peg will slide straight off, and that's great. And then you can see that all thread or threaded rod there that somebody has used to replicate what was probably not threaded rod originally. So you can see I've taken to the exhaust pipe like a maniac with a heat torch and a hammer, and I've let an indent into it, and it allows the all thread to slide past without any trouble. And it's agricultural, but you know, that's what I'm going to do. No questions about it. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to try and bend the frame. I would probably if the frame wasn't powdered or painted, but it is. Raises an interesting anomaly though. The foot peg slides on now, and that's no drama, but the rubber then hits on the exhaust. I actually think that this could have been longer at some stage, or somebody's made it. I can see a couple of welds on it that look a bit agricultural, so I'm going to get some longer all threaded rod. I'm going to make a spacer that sits in the back here, and I'm going to pull the foot peg out to about there. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then when you actually look at it, try not to be so shaky, you can see the brake pedal. You can actually see with the foot peg rubber out, it'll be slightly more comfortable than it was before. So I think, again, in somebody's haste to put it together and powder and paint, they have not made this piece long enough, and then the all thread isn't long enough, and that leads to things having to be repaired later. So I'm going to do that, and that'll be cool, and then I think we'll all be done with the foot pegs. Okay, that's Flat Tank Friday for another week, and that's Flat Tank Friday for 2019. I've had a bit of a hoot showing you stuff and thinking about stuff. I hope it encourages people to build something themselves. Doesn't have to be an old oiler like this, but it can be whatever you enjoy. Lesson for 2019 as we finish the year is dry build first. Don't powder and paint and nickel plate and then start putting it together, because you get issues like this one. This could have been so simply fixed. Longer foot peg mount, longer all thread, and it would have gone together really smoothly and it wouldn't feel so weird. But anyway, that's the way it is. Hey, have a Merry Christmas for those who are into that sort of thing. Whatever you're doing, hope you feel the love and the friendship of your friends and your family around you. I'm going to have a couple of weeks off now. I'll catch you early in the new year. Cheers.